Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of In Focus. Pirate activities in the Gulf of Aden have become a growing threat to international maritime security. Trading vessels have no choice but to pass through the area as it is a part of the Suez Canal, the gateway to the Europe market. Korea successfully carried out its first rescue mission for a hostage vessel, marking a historical breakthrough in its policy towards Somali pirates. Let's consult our experts on international measures to combat piracy and Korea's role. Join us after the newsreel.
The Korean Navy's Cheonghae unit successfully conducted its mission to rescue the Samho jewelry from Somali pirates on the 21st. Although the captain of the vessel was injured during the process, a crew of 21 men was safely rescued after 6 days of abduction. 8 pirates were killed in the mission, while the remaining 5 were captured alive. Cases of Korean vessels being abducted by Somali pirates have been on the rise since it first happened back in 2006. There has been a total of 8 abductions of Korean ships so far, but the Samho jewelry was the first case in which Korea took military action to rescue the hostage vessel instead of paying ransom. This was the first rescue operation conducted by the Cheonghae unit, dispatched to the Somali coast in 2009 to protect Korean ships from pirates. The Arirang Gulf, where these abductions take place, lies on the most important trading route through which 20% of all international trade volume and 30% of Korean trade volume are transported.
Welcome back. We have 2 experts in the studio today to discuss the rescue mission and the issue of Somali pirates. Joining us on my right is Professor Seo Jung-min. Professor Seo teaches at the Center for Middle East and African Studies at Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Thank you for joining us today, Professor
Thank you for having me here.
And joining on my left is Dr. Kim Chol-woo. Dr. Kim is a military research fellow at the Korea Institute for Defense Analysis. Welcome to our program, Dr. Kim.
Thank you for joining me.
Okay, Dr. Kim, if we can first talk about the context of this rescue mission. I understand that this mission was very, very risky to begin with. Nonetheless, the South Korean government decided to go ahead with this dangerous mission and successfully rescued all the crew members. So it came as a big surprise to many in South Korea as well as to the international community. So the question is, what compelled the South Korean government to take such a swift action? What had been the motivations?
Yes, indeed, it was very risky and difficult operation, but as you mentioned, it turned out a great success. It's a surprising success to the international community. The Korean military launched a very rare, bold, and daring, incisive operation to the region. So at this point, in retrospect, we can summarize the couple of points. What made that, what consideration have the South Korean government to deploy that specific, very daring operations in there. My personal understanding is that it comes from the basic principle of fundamental justification to rescue Korean citizens, wherever they are. So, we should start not from risk factor or dangerousness of the hostages. First of all, we have to start with the jurisdiction or sovereignty. As a sovereign nation, we start with the fundamental justification to rescue in whatever conditions the Korean people. So it follows with the available military asset in that sense. Korean military dispatched the Cheonghae unit, who successfully did the job well done in this case, dispatched in March 2009, which means over the last 2 years, we have had enough experiences in that area. So on top of that, command and control is nicely done in Seoul, and to control in that side with the backed by the advanced IT technology. So I think that's the great impact also in that. So overall, the operation was the very highly orchestrated mission. Is meticulously implemented on the spot as a field officer, and remotely it's nicely controlled and decision-making process added up. So the foremost strategic message the South Korean government are trying to send out the international community, specifically to the Somalis, we would not tolerate any other illegal activities wherever. So on top of that, the media focus on the Naval Special Forces, UDT or SEAL or with military jargon. Yes, indeed, their actions was great and courageous and bravery. So I fully admitted it. But we should also focus on the international collaborations. Even the United States supported that operation. Omani's, naval forces supported. So whole international community supported that specific operation. So I think starting from the risk factor and justification, and it turned out great success. All of the 21 members of crew was survived, and the criminals, some of them assassinated, and killed by the special operations forces. Some 5 of them captured alive. So I think this was a great success of the Korean military. Supported by the decision-making process here in South Korea.
I think we can say that the mission was quite successful, although the captain is in critical condition because we rescued all the crew members. But the question here is that, do you think this would have a lasting deterrent effect on the pirates?
Yes, of course. This rescue operation shows our government stance. Showed our strong will that we won't tolerate anymore the piracy against our ships. And then as for this rescue operation, so I should say first this is our first rescue operation in our history out abroad, but it was huge some success. We have witnessed, we have dispatched many troops to Iraq, to Afghanistan, Lebanon, East Timor, but they are all under the banner of UN peacekeeping forces or the multinational coalition forces. But this military operation, so we have 8 ships were hijacked in that area, but past 6 the cargo ships, we should pay ransoms, some high huge amount of money. So it may encourage some pirates to attack the Koreans as a easy target, but this operation give them a very strong warning.
Professor Sub, but we try to send a stern message to these pirates, but the pirates pledged that there's going to be a retaliation because 8 of their members got killed during the mission. So do you think this is a concern? This is something that we have to worry about?
Yes, this is a huge military operation. The 8, some the pirates were killed, and some other 5 were captured. So this is a huge loss to Somali pirates. But we should know that the people working in the pirate work, they are working on boats. They are very lower ranking the pirates. But behind them there's a huge the business forces, and then tribal and militia forces. But these the businessmen, they don't want to give up the ransom. So there's a very low possibility to retaliate against some other Korean some captives and other Korean vessels in that area.
Dr. Kim, I understand that this was not their first attack on the Korean vessel. Why is their attack on Korean vessel increasing? Why is the Korean vessel being increasingly targeted by these pirates?
Yes, indeed, the trend is increasing, but it's not just specific for the Korean vessels. As far as I know, at this moment there are more than 700 hostages under the Somali pirates and more than 26 vessels under that hostage situation. So, but specifically the Korean vessels is as victimized as, my personal understanding is lessons learned. We've been trying to solve the situation from the money perspective with the ransoms and negotiations with the hijackers. So that was the wrong choice. But all options are on the table. In this case, we have available military assets to counterattack their illegal activities. So we approached the, very decisive option. So the reason why they are specifically targeting, I personally underline the case of the Somali, Samo Dream case. So we paid more than $9 million as a ransom. So I think that specifically boosted their morale, Somali, pirates' morale to, this is very good business to targeting, to target the Korean vessels. So I think, at this point, we have to cut all the trend of the increasing, for the specific Korean vessels.
Dr. Kim, there is this another Korean vessel named Gunmi 305, which is still being held hostage by these pirates. How do you see the possibility of Korean government rescuing them?
So this is a desperately different situation. So people are, the public opinion trying to linkage those two cases, but Dr. So would, analyze the behind-the-scene decision makers. There are a lot of tribals and sectional fractions within even the Somali pirates. So this is a different case. So Gunmi, 305, and their trawler is, fishing ship, and this is the different case. So I think we should not correlate too much with this case and that case. I think in retrospect and vice versa, with a strong decisive action, which means we can call the shots in some cases. So I think it's not reversely correlated with the our decisiveness. So with this very strong action, we have upper hand to deal with the Gunmi 305 case.
Yes, the problem is Gunmi 305 are under on captive, under situation of some capture in some stronghold of the pirates. So some one city, for example, in northern Somalia, there's the port city called Ale. So this whole port city is the stronghold of pirates. So there are some other some the captured vessels, other captured some the hostages together. So it's very difficult to make a military operation because if we want to rescue the crewmen of Gunmi 305, we should make a very huge military operation against the whole stronghold. And then the pirates now they are very intelligent. So whenever they have any the negative information, they move the captives from the vessel to the the internal territory, some mountainous areas. So nobody knows where they are. And then nobody knows who are behind the the hijacking operations. So it's very difficult. First of all, we don't have enough information to make an operation. Second of all, the pirates has some preparations against any possible military rescue operations.
Professor, Somali pirates and their activities. Their activities and then pirates' activities have become a matter of increasing international concern for many years, right?
Yes.
So the question here is, why is the piracy so rampant in this particular area?
So we should follow the history, some political history of Somalia. So in the beginning of 20th century, Somalia was divided and controlled and ruled by two countries, the Italy and the Britain. So it was one country, but it was divided so many years, about some dozens of years. And after their liberation, so they were divided some according to in terms of some tribal forces. So now around 12 major tribal forces are fighting each other to some control the whole country. So especially from 1991, they are actually now in the civil war situation. So there's a central government. Central government cannot control all of the country. They only control the capital city of Mogadishu and other some small areas. Many people make some questions. Why Somali government cannot control pirates? Why international the coalition forces should fight against some piracy? Because the central government of Somalia, they don't have any ability to fight against the pirate groups, because some Somali coastline is more than 1,000 kilometers. There are about 100 groups of the pirates. The total numbers, we don't know exactly how many, the pirates are working there. So Somali government cannot send troops over to the coastline because there's many the tribal forces which have a militia. They are fighting against the Somali government. So this is kind of some political situation, and then the consequent economic difficulties have made Somali youngsters to join the pirate business.
So Somalia is basically a failed state,
Yes,
in
yes.
which case the government does not have any control over these pirates' activities.
Yes.
If that is the case, Professor, so if the local government does not have any control over these activities, what are the measures that the international community can turn to? What are the ways in which the international community can effectively deal with this issue?
Yes, some international community are working for the patrol the Indian Ocean with the the coalition fleet, but this is very short the direct measures to stabilize that ocean, but more the long term a measure to stabilize these the ocean and the Somali area is to support the Somali the Somali government to stabilize their politics and then they boost their economy, because the unemployment rate in Somalia is 75%. It means what? Yes.
Wow.
The practical unemployment rate more than 90%. So it's very difficult to find anyone who has job. So in this situation, we cannot eradicate the piracy or other some criminal activities. So the international community should help or should assist Somali the economic recovery and political stabilization. But the problem is last year whole Somali area had received just $100 million of international assistance. The international community, for example, the United States supports Israel $3 billion a year, and then the United States donate $2 billion a year to Egypt, but Somalia only got $100 million from all of the the international community. So they don't have any chance to recover their own economy. So it means what the international community should help Somalia. This is the best, the measure, best way to stabilize the criminal situation in Somalia.
So the international community should help them build a viable and functioning statehood first.
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Kim, if we can go back to the rescue mission, how is the international community responding to the success of our rescue mission?
I think the international community should respond with the clear messages to the Somali pirates. If they're doing wrong, doings, there must be very strong punishment. And the criminal activity and the punishment is closely related to. But so far, the international community is trying to cajole or reward their illegal activities. So that's the wrong. So yes, indeed, we have to rescue the hostages in safe and sound. But the other factor of the increasing trend is we are, in a sense, has been encouraging the activities. Well, some of the international community is trying to, evade the troublesome, tribunal activities or, bringing back to the justice system, due process, under the due process. So I think at this point we have to think about it. Wait a minute. Do we have to reward the bad and wrongdoings in the as an international community? We should some restrictions on punishment, with the even including military operations. So I think Koreans as a front runner to not retaliate, to pay back their wrongdoings. There was a great message to the Somali pirates. So I think in that sense, I'd like to buy Dr. Su's strongholds arguments. So the Koreans case, the January 15th, the Dream Jewelry was hijacked, right? The decisive action done within a week. So within a week, which means they have no, relations with the stronghold back there in Somalia in the base camp. So I think those kind of a bold and daring incisiveness with the meticulous planning and preparation helped us to get all 21 crew members rescued. Unfortunately, the captain of the Samoa Jury has abdominal injuries from the gunshots. But overall, the orchestrate, and as I mentioned, the international community even supported the Koreans' this specific military operation. I think those kind of approach, not just the patrolling or escorting, the argument I'm making is that area is not the Somali problem. It's the pipeline, the bloodline of the international economy, where all comes the energy comes even to the Korean economy. That's the lifeblood, of the shipping trade. Most of our shipments comes from that area. So I think this kind of decisive action can send a strong message, clear message to the Somali pirates and even international community.
Okay, professors, to summarize today's discussion, what do we need to do to prevent further attack of the pirates on our vessels and minimize damage?
Yes. Yeah, we should think about some preventive measures. So there's many some measures we can some talk about first. So the easiest one is to some equip the reinforced room on a vessel. So it means what we call citadel. So this is a room, the crew members lock themselves. Okay, when the pirates try to capture the vessel. So in that room they have communication equipment. There's water and some foods. They can stay there several days. During these days they call the international some naval forces to rescue them. This is the very easiest way. I know it costs just some money, but this is the best way now. In a very short period to protect our crew members. If they contact some international coalition forces, it makes some rescue operation very easy. So the rescue operation of the Samoa Jury, it was very difficult operation because some hostages and pirates are mixed together. So we should make some kind of separation, the situation of a separation between the piracy and the pirates and the crew members. And second option, so we think about many some other equipments like some water cannon. So some the electric wire, some surrounding the vessels. So some the prevent some pirates climbing up to the vessel. And there's another very important one. Our government is thinking about to make some bill to obligate a private security guard on every vessel. Because if there's the armed some security guard, he knows how to react to pirates, and he should make some warning shot against some pirates from a long distance. But the final we may think about the private the civilian radar system. So all the vessels should have not military, civilian radar system. So they may know some any boat, any some the ship some the approaching to them some not some unnormal some the direction. So if they found this kind of vessel, they can contact some Cheong, our some Chonghae fleet or other international forces. So it may some prevent any further pirate attacks.
I see. Dr. Kim, very briefly, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
So at this moment, we should send our South Korean government's strong will to the Somali pirates and international community, which is the international community should collaborate to deter. Even the combined task force 151 is still stationing, working there. So each individual country should do their own jobs, but in collaboration and cooperation with the shared information, and that's the very critical thing to deter or at least to discourage their activities, tie down their activities, rather than encouraging with the money-only perspective.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for sharing your insights today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The issue of piracy in the Gulf of Aden is not just a matter of increasing military presence in the area. Piracy has become a last resort for the Somali people, broken by civil war and poverty. To solve the problem, international efforts have to be made not only to deter pirate activity, but to help Somalia achieve economic and political security. This has been Kim Jae-chun for In Focus. Thank you for watching us.